Hello everybody. In today's session I'm going to describe the process of immigration in the United States of America, the way it is designed by USCIS office or United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. The way it is designed, it's designed for two different category of people. One, those who are attending the sessions and trying to learn some of the things for these steps and for this process through USCIS office. They're attending the sessions at USCIS office, but the second category people are those who are trying to learn it online by using, let's say, social media pages such as YouTube, such as Google, or other means of social media. So for those people, it's designed in 10 different steps, starting from number 1 until 10. So at the beginning, I'm trying to have a disclaimer, and I would like to say that I've tried my best to collect as much information, as much details as I could, but still I'm not going to say that you may not face any question or any complexity. All of them are not answered over here, but once again, I did my best, and you may not face any question, you may not face, but in case if you face, you can refer to USCIS or to YouTube other videos provided by other people, and hopefully your question get resolved. So now coming to the point, I would like to name all these 10 steps, and then for the second time I'm going to explain them with details. The first step is called determine if already a US citizen, which means that you should determine you could be already a US citizen. And then we have 3 points here that I will explain that inshallah in a bit. The second one, determine eligibility for US citizenship. Then the third, prepare application for naturalization or the form N400. And then the fourth, submit application for naturalization, again form N400. And then the biometric application, which is included photograph, fingerprint by FBI, and if applicable. Then number 6, complete the interview. Then we have some notes and some points over here. And then number 7, receive a decision from USCIS. Once you're done with the interview, then you will receive something in the mail or email, possibly in mail. And then you will receive the decision regarding the interview you had. And then number 8, receive a notice to take the oath of allegiance. And then number 9, take the oath of allegiance to the US. And then number 10, or the last step, your rights and responsibility as a US citizen. So this was a very short overview of the all 10 steps. And then now we are going in detail, and I need you to bear with me from A to Z. I'm going to explain all of them in as much detail as I have collected for today's session. So number 1, when we say determine if already a US citizen, it simply means that some people are already a US citizen, they just need to determine that. Okay, so we have 3 points over here. Number 1, if you are born in US or in a territory of US, that's number 1. Number 2, if born abroad to US citizen parents or parent, even if residing abroad now. So for this category, we need the form called N-600 or N-600K for citizenship certificate. Then number 3, or the third point regarding this one, is if your biological or adoptive parent or parents became a US citizen before you reach the age of 18, then again you need the form N-600 or N-600K for citizenship certificate, which simply means that you are filling out that form and you are submitting, and then you will receive a citizenship certificate, which means you are a citizen of the United States. So if you are already a US citizen, you don't have to go through the remaining 9 steps. But let's say if you are not, then you have to come for number 2. So what is number 2? It says determine eligibility for US citizenship. Then over here we have 12 points, which means that you have to determine if you are eligible and if you have met all the requirements for citizenship. So what are those 12 points? Number one, be at least 11 years old at the time of filling Form N400, application for naturalization, guidance sheet for filling Form N400 is already over there at USCIS, which means that you will fill out this form N400, and there is another form which is kind of guidance, and that will show you how to fill out this one. So once you are done with that, we go to the second step of this one, of the 12 points. But over here, I need to bring to your attention that this form in 400, it is 20 pages. Then you will, you are required to provide some other documents as well. And the last thing you have to provide is the fees. And we come to that in a bit, inshallah. So number two, be a permanent resident. That's the second requirement. Be a permanent resident. Have a green card for at least 5 years, which means that you already have a green card and you must have it for 5 years. Then number three, permanent resident for 3 years and spouses of U.S. citizen, which means that if your husband or your wife is already a U.S. citizen, then you don't have to spend 5 years. You can spend only 3 years, and then you can apply for citizenship. Then number four, qualifying service in the U.S. Armed Forces and meet all other eligibility requirements. If you have already joined the Armed Forces of the United States, there are some of the things you need to study and you need to go through that. If you have met all those requirements, then perhaps you become the citizen very sooner than waiting for 5 years or 3 years or so. So number five, or the fifth point for this one, if you are a U.S. citizen, the child was born outside the United States, the child is currently residing outside the United States, and all other eligibility requirements are met. So this one was kind of already explained with this one over here. But once again, if somebody is born from a parent or parents of a citizen of the United States and he's or she is living abroad, they can apply, or he or she can apply for citizenship. Now, number six, show that you have lived for at least 3 months in the state or USCIS district where you applied, which means that once you decided to apply for citizenship, you have to spend entire 3 months or 90 days at that particular state or that particular district of USCIS, so then you can apply. And as you know that we have the federal, then we have the state, then we have, in each state we have the counties. Let's say in California, there are 58 counties, and then each county has different cities, the different number of cities. Like let's say Sacramento, which is the capital of California, it has 7 incorporated cities. So where you're going to apply for citizenship, you have to spend 90 days or 3 months over there. Now, number 7, it says demonstrate continuous residence in the United States for at least 5 years immediately preceding the date of filing Form N400, which simply means that once you decided to apply for citizenship and complete the Form N400, you must make yourself sure that you have spent 5 years in the United States. Let's say for any reason, if you have been abroad, and let's say you have spent 3 months or less more, and you came back, so you are not required to count those 3 months. You have to spend all 5 years in the United States. Now the next thing we have is that's number 8 actually. Number 8 says show that you have been physically present in the United States for at least 30 months out of the 5 years immediately preceding the date of filing Form N400. So now this one says it's different from number 7. In number 7, it was saying that you have to spend 5 years, 5 entire years in the United States. But this one's saying that once you decided to apply for citizenship, the last 30 months or the last 2.5 years you have to have spent that in United States. Let's say if for some reason you have been abroad, then you have to count beyond that, and once it's the entire 30 months or 2.5 years, then you can apply for citizenship. Now, number 9 says that be able to read, write, and speak English. Number 10, it says that have a basic understanding of U.S. history and government, or the civics. Let's say one of the things would be that the independence date, for example, it's July 4th, 1776. Or at that time, how many colonies were there who declared their independence? It was 13 colonies. Let's say, and compared to today's what we have. So you would say 13 states at that time, which was called colonies. Now, number 11, which says that be a person of good moral character, which means that simply you have to have a good moral character. Number 12 for these 12 points says that demonstrate an attachment or demonstrate a willing to the principles and ideals of the United States Constitution. Now, once you're done with this number 2, then you are coming to number 3, which says prepare application for naturalization. The way they're using the word naturalization instead of citizenship, because in citizenship it simply means citizenship, that's all. You get a passport, you vote, that's all. But whenever they use the word naturalization, it has something in it, which simply means that you are naturalized to the United States. That's what it carries with it. Now, once you are done with, okay, so with number 3, we have 4 points here. With number 3, yeah. The first point says that prepare Form N-648 for disability and or mental developmental problem. If somebody has a kid, let's say, or a family member with mental developmental problem or disability, they're required to fill out the Form N-648. Number 2, you have to, while you're filling, the filling fee of Form N-400 is $725 US dollars, and that's the update of 2018. And beyond that, there's no more update because I downloaded this one from the USCIS website, so that should be the update one. Out of this $725, $640 is charged as a citizenship fee. The remaining $85 is going to background and biometric fees. So now, number 3, if you're applying from abroad, then you have to send them 2 passport, or you can email them, or you can upload 2 passport style photographs if you're living abroad. Now, number 4 says that copy of submitted documents. You have to have the copy of submitted documents, including the Form N-400. And once you have the interview date, then you have to read all those documents, whatever you have submitted, so you don't make any mistake. At the meantime, you can remember all things you have submitted. Now we are going to number 4. It says submit application. Once you're done with the preparation of application or the Form N-400, then submit application for naturalization, which is again the Form N-400. We are going to number 5 now. With number 5, it says biometric application. You are applying for biometric, then you will get interview date. So over there you have the photographs. They are taking your photographs, the fingerprints by FBI, and it says if applicable. For some people, there's no example of them on the website, but for some people it may not be applicable. Let's say for somebody who is born here and disabled, or somebody who's coming from abroad and let's say he or she is a disabled child. That's my own example, but there's no example of it on the website. So if it's applicable, you will go through these process. Now, number 6. With number 6, it says complete the interview. So now, here is the main point of the citizenship. With number 6, you have 2 notes at the beginning. Then we are talking about the form N400, then the civic, then the English, and then we have two notes at the end. Now, starting with the two notes at the beginning, we are saying try best to attempt the interview because it takes several months for next appointment. Plus, if you cannot, then notify the office where you are scheduled to. That was note number one. The second, notify USCIS by Form A or -11 within 10 days of relocation. I mean, if you have done the change of address, so you have to notify them within 10 days through a form called A or -11. So now once you're done with these two notes, let's start with this one. With this one, we say Form N400 naturalization test and background question, which simply means that you have already filled out the form, you have submitted them, and then a USCIS officer who is going to do the interview with you guys, then he or she may be asking some of the questions regarding here, and at the meantime, he or she is determining your eligibility, your language skills with speaking. He or she will determine how is your English skills while you speak English. So that's done over here. And then let's say with the next one. Okay, so now we had only 1 point here. Then with the civic, we have 4 points. Number one, some answers may change because of elections or appointments. Whenever there's election, there is a new president, there's new appointments. So some of the questions out of 100 questions, it always change. So as you know, there is 100 questions, possible questions, and you have to go through that, and you have to, study them, be prepared for those questions, and out of those 100 questions, which you can find on the USCIS website through the apps, different apps. Let's say for 2020, the updated version, the 2019, let's say for next year 2021. So you can study all of those apps, and again you can go through the website once you are ready for that. So out of those 100 questions, you will be asked only 10 questions, and out of those 10 questions you have to answer 6 of them correctly. Let's say if you make 5 mistakes, then you cannot go through the test with a pass score. You have to retake the test. But let's say if you have done 6 of them out of 10 correctly, then you are done. Then you get passed with those scores. That's one of the things. And then you have to know about the U.S. history and the government. Let's say in the United States, there are 3 branches of the government: the judicial, the parliament, or over here, sorry, it's called the Congress, and then you have the executive branches of the government. So these branches, and at the meantime, 4 layers of the government, which is the federal, the state, the county, and the city or the local authorities. So these are the 4 layers. You have to know all of them. Now the point number 1 I'm making again on the civic is some answers may change because of the elections or appointments, and you know that. Let's say at this moment President Trump is the president, but let's say with the election of November 2020, if somebody else is elected, then he is the president, and one of the questions are already changed there. So you have to know that these questions are a kind of a stable question. It's not been it cannot be changed, and it has not been changed in the past, but some of the questions are kind of changeable all the time, so you have to be updated for that. The second point is that those 100 possible questions are posted on USCIS, but you can also see elsewhere with the YouTube, with the different applications people have made. Then number 3, 2 chances of English and civics test if failed between 60 to 90 days after the first interview. Once you're done with the first interview and for some reason you could not pass the test for civic or for English, then you can retake that portion between 60 to 90 days, or let's say between 2 to 3 months. And point number 4, or the last point for this one, for the civic, is The national pass rate is 91%, is as of December 2013, but there may not be any other update on the website. So 91% 91% of the people or the applicants, they get passed, which is, I mean, that's a great number, I guess. That's a good score, because a lot of people has tension on that. So 91% is, I think, a good score. Now with the third, we go to English. That's the third one, and we have 6 points with English. The first one, the speaking. Your ability by USCIS officer on Form N400. As I said earlier, once they start with here with Form N400, they will determine your language skills or English language skills with the speaking. So the second one, reading. Must read aloud 1 out of 3 sentences correctly, which means 1 out of 3 sentences you have to, you must read it aloud and correctly. Writing test vocabulary list on focuses on civics and history topics, and I will show you that this is the reading. This is the reading. The minimum words are 40 words, but the maximum is not exceeding 60 words. So you can just print this paper and you can read it, so you don't face any difficulty during the interview. Now, the third point is the writing. Must write 1 out of 3 sentences correctly. Writing test vocabulary list focuses on civics and history. Again, with the writing test, it's for writing. The first one was for reading. So you can download this one. Again, the minimum could be 40 words, but the maximum is not exceeding 60 words. You can learn them so you don't face any difficulty during your writing test. Now, the fourth point is about the waiver or the exception. There are some exceptions, some waivers for some certain criteria or for some certain people. The first one is someone who is 50 years old or older, and he or she has spent 20 years of residency. That's number one. The second, who is 55 years old or plus, and he or she has spent 15 years of residency. They could be waived with English test, but still they have to go through the civic education. They have to know something about the U.S. history, the government, or the branches of the government, the layers of the government. Now, the point number 5 is you will be permitted to take the civics test in your native language. Your own interpreter, plus he must be or she must be fluent in English and your language. So you can have your civic test in your own language, but you have to provide your own interpreter, and he or she must be fluent with 2 languages, English and your language. Now, point number 6, or the last point for the English test, is if somebody is 65 years old or plus, 65 plus, and he or she has spent 20 years of residency. So there are some special considerations regarding the civics requirement, but there's no example of them. Now the next, the last 2 notes regarding number or concerning number 6 is USCIS also provides accommodations for individuals with disabilities. Let's say somebody needs a wheelchair or something else, they provide these accommodations. The second one, submit form N-648 for medical certification for disability exceptions, and licensed medical or by a licensed medical or a licensed doctor, physician, or licensed clinical psychologist. So they must prove that paper, they must sign it, and then you can provide with that particular form. That particular person can get waived from the test or whatever it is. Now coming to point number 7, we say receive a decision from USCIS on form N400. So once you're done with the interview, and let's say you go home and then you wait for the decision where you can hear a positive thing or a negative, you receive an approval or a denial, then there is 2 points over here. Let's say if you have heard something positive, then you are automatically going to number 8. And if you have heard something negative, what should you do? We have 2 points here. So point number 1, you will receive a notice from USCIS explaining the reason for your Form N-400 denial. If you believe that USCIS incorrectly denied your Form N-400, you may request a hearing to appeal this decision. Number 2, or point number 2, you must file Form N-336 with the appropriate fee. There is no mention of the fee, but it says appropriate fee within 30 days of the Form N-400 decision date. If a request for a hearing is not filed within the time allowed, the denial decision is final, which simply means that if you have heard a denial and you are not agree with it, you have to start an appeal. But if you didn't do that within 30 days or 1 month, then the denial is final. You cannot do anything beyond that, beyond those days. Number 8. So we are going to number 8. Receive a notice to take the oath of allegiance. That's number 8. And that's it. There's no explanation for it. Let's say you receive the notice and it tells you about the time, date, and location. Then you're coming to number 9. Take the oath of allegiance to the U.S. Then we have 2 notes, 5 points, and again 2 notes. So once we are done with the 2 notes, we see what are the 5 points which is taken from the oath of allegiance, and then we have 2 more notes. Note number 1, attend oath ceremony on interview date, and or USCIS will notify you of different date, time, and location. Number 2, notice Form N-445, Notice of Naturalization Oath Ceremony to your local USCIS officer. Include a letter explaining why you cannot attend the oath ceremony. Ask USCIS to reschedule you. So the first point was saying basically you have to try. If there is nothing which deals with importance at the meantime emergency, so you have to attend your oath, or you have to attend the ceremony. But let's say if something happened and you cannot attend the ceremony, then you have to notify them and let them know the reason why you cannot attend the ceremony. Okay, so that was the 2 notes, and then we have the 5 points over here regarding the oath of allegiance. Number 1, support the Constitution of the United States. Number 2, renounce or abjure absolutely and entirely all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, state, sovereignty, or whoever they are. Where you were the citizen and you were the national, so you were just trying to renounce that. Number 3, support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Number 4. So number 4 and number 5 is kind of mixed because it has 3 alphabetical numbers, A, B, C. But it says number 4, bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and then number 8, bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law. Or number 2, or number B, perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law. Or number C, perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law. So these were the 5 points with the oath of allegiance. Over here, then we have 2 more notes over here. So note number 1 says that you are not a U.S. citizen until you take the oath of allegiance at a naturalization ceremony. The oath is administered by USCIS at an administrative ceremony or by a judge in a judicial ceremony. A court has exclusive authority to conduct the ceremonies in certain USCIS districts. And note number 2, you receive your certificate of naturalization after taking the oath of allegiance. So once you are done with the oath of allegiance, after that you receive a certification of naturalization. That simply means that now you can apply for a passport and you are a U.S. citizen. So number 10, or the last step we have, your rights and responsibilities. As a U.S. citizen, there are 7 rights mentioned. as well as 9 responsibilities mentioned. So number 1 of the rights, freedom to express yourself. Number 2, freedom to worship as you wish. Number 3, right to prompt fair trial by a jury. And number 4, right to vote in elections for public officials. Number 5, right to apply for federal employment requiring U.S. citizenship. Number 6, right to run for elected office. Number 7, freedom to pursue life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Then we are coming to number 9. The 9 points of the responsibilities. Number 1, support and defend the U.S. Constitution. 2, stay informed of the issues affecting your community. Number 3, participate in the democratic process, let's say the election or so. And number 4, respect and obey federal, state, and local laws. Number 5, respect the rights, beliefs, and opinions of others. Number 6, participate in your local community. Number 7, pay income and other taxes honestly and on time to federal, state, and local authorities. Number 7, serve on a jury when called upon. When you are called as a citizen, you have to serve that. And number 9, defend the country if needed, if need should arise. So if it is needed, you should defend the country as well. Okay. So my friends, we are done with the 10 steps of the citizenship and immigration process. And I would like to invite you all to share these videos with other sisters and brothers who need to know all these 10 steps in detail as I mentioned. And inshallah, you will get reward for that, and I get reward for that. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you so much for your attention.